Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to this live stream webinar. We're here today with an inspiring and aspiring self-published author, Shenteria Marie. And we're so excited for her to share her experience as a self-published author here on the Nevada Women's Business Center live stream YouTube channel. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Kathleen Taylor. And I'd like to, first of all, welcome you. Thank you so much for being here today. Yeah. And I'd like to share some of your background with the audience as well, and then we'll just jump into a great conversation.
Okay.
So basically, Shenteria Marie is a self-published author, a voiceover actress, a speaker and entrepreneur, and a self-proclaimed social justice warrior. Good for you. And, she works daily to be the positive change she wants to see in the world. And that comes into the realm of the content of your book.
Yes.
That speaks to that. It also comes from being a voice of positive change through some of your voiceover work, or just your activities in the community. So, and also in professional circles too. So I'm just so delighted to have you here today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, sure, you're welcome. So, in reference to being a self-published author, could you kind of like walk us through that process?
Well, the process, I feel like, is having the idea of wanting to write a book yourself. If you have some great idea, I feel like everyone has a book within themselves. You yourself, Kathleen, also have a book within you. So I feel like when they come up with the idea of wanting to do it, then they have to find out the next avenue. I would suggest Amazon. Create space, you can have a physical book, and then Kindle, you can have the digital copy.
Yes.
So I feel like that's the easiest, and they have the most resources. So I feel like that would be the first step.
Okay.
But writing the book first would be actually the very first step. So having the idea, then writing it down, actually coming up with different chapters and different things like that, and then actually publishing it. So yeah, I feel like those are the first three important steps. And then marketing is a whole different animal.
Yes, it sure is.
Yes.
And with that, it seems that you have a lot of your talents going into like different aspects of entrepreneurship, so to speak, because you have one aspect is self-publishing and an author, and looking at that, what inspired you to go that route to share your story? Because like you said, everyone has a story to share, but not everyone knows how to go about the process of sharing that story. And I find that fascinating that whatever it is that brought it out of you to go through, take those additional steps of creating something that is accessible, to the community, to the world, through your writing, that takes something else versus just sharing a story with someone.
True.
So could we delve a little bit more into that, into what inspired you to go that extra mile?
Yes, for me, I always have wanted to find out how I can pass something on to the next generation, some type of wisdom or knowledge, and I feel like that was pretty much what burned within myself to want to do that. Initially, I went to a seminar for writing a book, and it was so expensive. But I thought to myself, I'd really like to do this because I'd like to pass on something to younger generations, something that might possibly help them, and everyone can do that. And for myself, it was more about really wanting to do that. I was passionate about that. And so my story kind of evolved in terms of myself growing up poor and black in America. And so it kind of evolved out of that. And so I felt like that was very important to tell that type of story. So it's like a legacy, leaving your legacy. And so that's pretty much what it was, me wanting to do that. I was so passionate about doing that.
Oh, very good. And looking at like the process, so to speak, when you're writing, how do you know when, okay, this is the chapter that I'm going to go with? Because, you could kind of go into a cycle, because I published a book 2 years ago. And you go through the cycle, okay, is this good enough? Is this good enough? No, it's not. This has to be changed. This has to be developed. And you kind of go into this cycle, and before you know it, you're spending so much time trying to perfect your craft when and you can't develop the other parts of the story. So how do you kind of like say, okay, I'm good with this, let's move on
Yes.
to the next chapter?
I got to that point initially when I first started kind of writing the book. I was doing that as well. But I was like, maybe this, maybe that, or writing different chapters and feeling like, okay, this one's better than that one, so let me take this one out. But then I began to recognize that nobody's perfect. Nothing's ever going to be perfect. So whatever it is, the material that you have, just kind of, if you feel like it's great enough, don't feel like it has to be perfect.
Right.
Because if you feel that way, you're not going to finish the book at all.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And it takes a lot of discipline to actually write a book. A lot of people kind of, if you don't focus on it,
Oh, I know.
you don't get finished with it.
Yes.
So yeah, it's kind of just feel like, nothing's ever going to be perfect. Recognize, that you getting this out there is your purpose above all else. So just kind of focus more on getting the material done, and don't feel like it has to be completely perfect. I really was doing that as well initially, and I was like, this isn't going to get done, it isn't going to get done. And so I had to just stop and just, okay, this is good material. Let me not pick at it and nitpick. And,
Right.
And yeah, I had to get it done because I wanted to get it done. So yeah.
Yeah, that's and you have to, like you said, being disciplined in that vein. So, in being a self-published author, once you have the content of the book, and you're developing it, and you're looking at like a solid draft, do you contact an agent? Do you make key connections in the publishing industry so that you have a platform to get your book more exposure to the right people? Or are you your own agent because you're self-published? What kind of hats do you have to wear?
Well, you do have to wear quite a few hats. If you're self-publishing, you are your own agent. Like, you're going to be the one that puts your book out there. The word about your book, marketing, and all those different things are going to be up to you. But if you do decide to go to the literary agent, they would be the ones who would get the word out about your book. But oftentimes with the literary agent, you have to sell a certain number of copies, either in Kindle or physical book.
Okay.
So yeah, but as a self-published author, it's up to you. If you don't put the work forward to actually get your book out to the world, then it's not going to, no one's going to even know about it. So yeah, it's hard marketing, but definitely that's something you have to do as a self-published author.
And so, how do you build your readership, your reader base? Because we say the word marketing, but what specific strategies do you use to get the word out to your clients or readers?
For myself, I feel like initially it's the people that you know, your loved ones, your family, your friends would probably be the first ones that you might want to let them know about you writing a book. And so if they're interested, then yeah, they'd be your first readers right there. And then kind of branching out on social media. Like, I would say creating your own website with having your name as your domain name.
Okay.
So I feel like that would be great. That way, if you publish several books, then you can have each of your books on your website.
Okay.
And refer people back to your website. So yeah, kind of doing that and getting a readership through social media. I feel like social media is the biggest.
Sure.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you, in reference to like different formats of your book, would you recommend from a self-publishing perspective to have like a hard copy, a Kindle version, or maybe an audiobook version? What are some? Do you think that all three would be worthwhile, or would you strategically pick one over the other in reference to the book format?
I think all three would be great because people like different things. Most people like a lot of people like physical copies, some don't. They can do Kindle or they can do audiobooks. Some people like voices. I actually have mine on physical copy and actually in Kindle. I haven't done the audiobook yet, but since I'm a voiceover actress, I'll actually record it myself.
Sure.
But yeah, I have to get actually into doing that. But yeah, I suggest all three because you never know what everybody has different taste.
Right.
So each person will like something different, and that way you have three ways to get your book out. So yeah.
I agree. And so what whenever you are in the initial stage of self-publishing, could you kind of go over again how do you contact Amazon? How do you go through the steps of getting those platforms in line. So could you kind of like describe,
Yeah.
those pieces?
Yes, definitely. So when you have your book formatted correctly,
Mm-hmm.
then you would just go to createspace.com.
Okay.
It's actually not Amazon.com, it's
Oh,
createspace.com.
well, thank you.
And
Okay.
CreateSpace would be for the physical copy.
Okay.
And so pretty much you would have to upload the file that has your book on there and upload your cover
Mm-hmm.
and different things like that. And then you'd submit it, put the price for whatever whatever you want the price to be, and then it would be up on Amazon.
Okay.
And so that's the way to go through physical copy.
Okay.
For Kindle publishing, you go to kdp.com.
Okay.
And it's Kindle Direct Publishing.
All right.
And so pretty much that way it would be the digital format of your book, and that
Okay.
would be on Amazon as well.
Mhm.
So you'd have the two different versions of your book there. With the audiobook, I haven't looked at that part yet, but I know that after you have the recording, I think there's a few different platforms that you can go
Mhm.
through to actually get your audiobook on different websites. But I don't think Amazon does the audiobook version yet.
Actually,
Do they?
it's kind of interesting from what I recall, because I've done a couple audiobooks
Okay.
too. So one of the websites is acx.com,
Okay.
and Audible owns acx.com,
Okay.
and you can buy the book through Amazon. It's kind of interesting.
Wonderful. See,
Yeah.
Amazon has the most resources.
Yeah, yeah. So if you're interested in the audiobook format, I would suggest that. Also, ACX gives you the opportunity, if you're not comfortable on the mic and narrating your own audiobook as the author, they also give you options of contracting with narrators who are professionally trained in reading audiobooks.
Oh, perfect.
So you negotiate with them to create your audiobook, and basically it's on the platform.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So that's one of the options that I found, in the audiobook scheme of things.
Wonderful.
Mhm.
Wonderful.
And so what are if someone was starting the whole journey of becoming a self-published author, they have this idea, they have notebooks and notebooks of writing and doodling and inspirational moments, where you just in that zone and you write. How can they take it from that creative space to, okay, from a business perspective, these are the things that I have to do in order to get this that's in here into a print format, into a Kindle format, into an audiobook format, just for the self-publishing aspect.
You know what I would say? First, kind of structure it to make sure everything is structured in the way that they want it to be in terms of the book coming out. And they can actually outsource everything if they feel like, this is too much for me, like I can't do this. You can outsource everything. There's several different websites, actually Fiverr.com, where you can actually outsource. You can get an ebook cover, a lot of types of things from Fiverr. I highly recommend that website. And so if they don't feel like, they have what it takes to actually get it out there, but they've written the book themselves, or actually people sometimes outsource writing the book themselves,
Right.
which is surprising. So yeah, I mean, they could just outsource that if they don't want to kind of get that done. So yeah, I suggest outsourcing for sure, but definitely just writing it down. If you don't want to outsource, writing it down, going to or actually even looking on YouTube for different people who have actually done it.
Oh, very good.
Yes, I feel like there's a lot of information on YouTube, and a lot of people have actually self-published themselves. So finding those videos where people have actually self-published, and then kind of looking at them, see what they went through, see what works for you, see what doesn't. Yeah, it's kind of like seeking out different things to find out what really works for that person.
You kind of like gave me like a brainstorm idea in reference to marketing, so to speak,
Okay.
with this platform here, with the live stream, webinar, whole deal. What do you think about the content of your book? And maybe a person can do this with any book, or maybe not, I'm not sure. And you can use this cost-effective setup of live streaming on YouTube to talk about excerpts of your book, and then have it more like interactive, in that the audience can then type in questions that you can answer about whatever particular topic you're talking about that day, about your book, and you can kind of like have that interaction going through a visual, interactive
Great.
type of cost-effective way.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of like a brainstorm idea that I have. Is that something that maybe you could integrate in your marketing?
Yes, I actually suggest that now that you mention it. That's a wonderful idea. I actually, because sometimes certain books should be explained or need to be explained because sometimes people take things differently.
Yes,
and my book
exactly.
is one of those books.
Yes.
So I'll definitely have to do that for sure. That is a wonderful idea. That
Okay,
is great. Yeah, for sure. For marketing. Wow. And then Facebook Live as well. You could do that.
Yes,
That's really
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's a wonderful idea, Kathleen.
And
Thank you.
to kind of put a little meat on the bone, so to speak, with your topic and other topics too, you can invite someone to have like a conversation with, so that either their viewpoint may be different from yours given the content of your book, and you can have a conversation about that.
Yeah.
You know, or if your book is about like how-to tips for culinary cuisine or Thai cooking, I'm just making stuff up, you can have someone that's a seasoned chef on, and you guys can kind of like vibe, you know, about that, because that's the topic, culinary prep from a chef's perspective, you know, or whatever. So you know, just an FYI, something to kind of like play with, because quite frankly, I highly recommend, in general, people exploring the live stream webinar, really maximizing your YouTube channel, whether it and understanding how to use live stream software. I started out with Google Hangout on Air, and then I kind of transitioned into OBS system, and that's a free software you can download from online, and just it's pretty user friendly, and it does sync well with YouTube. So just, you know, an FYI, and quite frankly, this whole setup with the microphone, the stand, the camera, the tripod, I'm just going to assume that you have a laptop.
Yes.
And you guys have a laptop, theoretically, or you and you watching this, or a desktop. If without including the laptop, this whole setup costs about maybe $250. You know, with the equipment cost, and to me, that's doable, more than doable.
Definitely.
And that's with, you know, using equipment that's decent. You can always upgrade, you know, for a better mic or better camera, this and that and the other. Put some lights on, you know, so just an FYI.
Yeah.
So let me be quiet.
It's great information for sure.
So basically, it was just so lovely to meet you at a networking group a month or so ago, and here you were talking about your experience as a self-published author and entrepreneur, and I'm just kind of curious about the content of your book. What inspired you to tell that particular story? Because everyone not only has a story, they have many stories and many versions of the same story.
Yes.
So would you like to kind of like expound upon that?
Yes. For myself, I guess I thought more about nonfiction instead of fiction. A lot of people have a lot of fiction they can create, which is wonderful. For myself, it was just about more so nonfiction, kind of getting my story out there that could possibly help younger people. My second book might actually be a fiction, but the first one, I wanted it to be something that might actually stick to people, to kind of help younger generations, as I said. And so it was just more so about that that focus of really wanting to tell my story so that it can help young people who might possibly be going through the same thing, or helping bullying and different things like that. So I just wanted to make some type of difference, some type of change. So yeah, that's what it was about.
Okay. Now, from my, I'm kind of like processing this from a small business development counseling perspective. So did you do like market research in that is there a need in the marketplace for this story to be told and this story to be sold? Because everyone, I mean, Amazon, excuse me, Amazon, Audible, they have like millions of different titles, you know, for books that are available. So did you strategically choose this one, or is it just solely from a personal perspective? Was there any like business sense going on, so to speak, or was it just like a personal type of journey you wanted to take through your writing?
Okay. You know, I actually wish it had been more business type, but it was actually more personal.
Sure.
So yeah, I just kind of wanted to make a change in whatever way possible. You know, some type of positive change in someone's mind. But yeah, if I'd done more market research, I could have actually researched a better title for the book as well, because they have, Google keywords, where you actually can research the right type of words to actually put in the title of your book, so that more people can search for it.
Oh, wow.
So that's a good tip for self-published authors as well. So yeah, kind of researching different things. I should have done that first. So hopefully, you know, any self-published authors out there who are watching this will actually do that first before they get their book out there. But yeah, I hadn't done that actually. But now that I know more about it, I will do it for my second book.
Oh, very good. Very good. And so with the what I heard like over the years is excuse me, from a oh my goodness, pardon me. So from a business perspective, I heard that in order to really make an impact on the marketplace for an author, especially if you're in a self-publishing arena, is to do things in threes. So have like, and to increase your following, do a series of a three book series.
Oh, wow.
So that you take and the way that you can kind of do that to help yourself out is take the one book, theoretically, before you launch it, before you publish it, take that one book and split it into three.
Oh, wow.
So that way I don't know, let's just say it's I don't know, 25 chapter book or whatever, or 20 chapter book. And you have like 5 chapters of 3 mini books, 3 small books.
Wow.
And the first 5 chapters, they're short, to the point, they're so dynamic. And it increases your readership's anticipation.
Nice.
Build your readership anticipation for the next book. You know, and it's like, okay, when is she going to drop the second one? And then you drop the second one, and then, you know, you see a spike in the second one in sales and readership, and then boom, you drop the third. So I've been told that really is the way to be more strategic from a business sense, you know, with self-publishing. And then when you have that readership, then you can leverage that, and the sales associated with that, then you can leverage that to a literary agent and say, okay, I have my readership, these are my sales, they're anticipating the next, you know, thing, you know, and this is what I'm bringing to the table. So let's boogie, so to speak.
Wow.
So that's what I've come across, basically. So for your next project, you may want to just, if it's easier for you, just write one big book. You know, write one book and then strategically split it into threes.
That's good advice. That's really good advice.
So, and then you can integrate the whole live stream YouTube aspect, and you can talk about book 1, and then, you know, talk about, you know, and what's coming next in book 2 is such and such and such.
Anticipation.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And you can kind of like build all those things in.
That is wonderful.
So that's just, you know, an FYI. Now, I've been, you know, like gabbing quite a bit here, but it's been, you know, really inspirational
Very
and fun.
for me as well. That's great. I like it.
Oh, thank you. Well, I look forward to your next project.
Yes.
And any like thoughts on that second book?
Some people were saying maybe a follow-up to the first one about how I'm implementing the solutions that I mentioned in the first book.
Okay.
I was thinking about that, and also I've come up with more so kind of fiction type of books, because I know there's a huge audience for fiction books. There's actually more of an audience for fiction I found than actually nonfiction. I guess maybe some stories are too deep in terms of nonfiction. So yeah, maybe a follow-up to the first one, depending on how much marketing I actually do to get it out there, because marketing is very, very important. So if I can get enough marketing done so I can get the book out there to as many people as possible, then a follow-up book to the first one, and then possibly a fiction book as well.
Oh, very good. You know, I just had an idea about your book.
Okay.
Okay, so bear with me now. I'm kind of like processing this. Okay, so you have your one book in print, hard copy.
Yes.
Okay. I think it's most opportune that you haven't created an audiobook format, because now, just to consider, the audiobook format, you can put that into a 3-part series.
Oh yeah.
The audiobook format. So take your one book, split it in 3s for that audiobook format, do the YouTube thing, and you can talk about the audiobook format, and you can always refer them if you want the entire, work. You know, the book is available in its entirety in print.
That is very, wow, that is great. I will definitely have to implement that for sure. Oh my gosh, I never thought about that.
And you're a voiceover actor.
Yes.
You can, well, you know what? You can kind of play with this a little. For book 1, you can narrate it. Book 2, maybe you can, go with ACX and, contract with a narrator just to give it a fresh voice. Yeah. And then book 3, it's up to you. Okay. So you can kind of like play with the voice, so to speak, on the narration side of things. But I would strongly suggest to, consider that format in the audiobook in the 3-part series and just integrate that as an option.
Wow, that is great. I definitely will have to do that for sure. Yeah, I've really been thinking about actually recording it, so because it is long, and I have so many other voiceover jobs, but splitting it up into the 3 parts, that would really be great, actually. Huh, wow. Thank you for that, Kathleen. It's very informative. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Wow.
Well, this has been, such a delight, having you here today.
Delight for me as well.
And are there any like pearls of wisdom that you'd like to leave the audience with in closing? And also, please provide them with your contact information and how they can get your book too.
Okay, perfect. Well, I would say for anyone who wants to be a self-published author, to stay focused, it takes a lot of discipline. Definitely discipline yourself. Maybe if you first start out writing, to actually maybe write something at least twice a week in your book, so that you stay focused and you make sure that you're actually putting content in it so that you don't forget about it. Sometimes people forget about it, so just stay focused and on track. Discipline is very, very important. And in terms of contacting me, you can go to my website, www.shenteriamarie.com. There you will actually find where you can purchase my book, or you can search for it on Amazon. I'm Shenteria Marie.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you so much for your time today and joining us for this live stream of a self-published author and all of her experience within the industry. And I also hope that you learned a thing or two from my little 2 cents, so to speak. So until next time, I'm Kathleen Taylor with the Nevada Women's Business Center. And if you have any questions, please call us at area code 702-734-3555 or check us out online at www.nevadawbc.com. Thanks. Take care. Bye. Awesome.
Thank you.
That's how we do it. Yes.
That was great. I appreciated that, and I learned a lot.